All right, here it is, the much anticipated next episode of Old School Law. I'm here with my boy Wolfman.
Yo, what's up, Lawson?
And as you know, I am your big main man, Dantron. And when I say big, I mean not necessarily in height. You know what I'm saying? So, this I'm super pumped about putting out this video. I know there's been a lot of anticipation, a lot of hype, kind of. Even I say a lot, but for this video, people are liking the format. So I just wanted to take a moment to address what we're planning on doing throughout this entire series. We're planning on picking a system, introducing the system, and then Wolfman and I, we picked a few games, 3 to 5 games to go back and forth and talk about. Really, it's just we're not going to do any gameplay footage or anything like that. If you want to see gameplay footage of these games, you can look later and deal with that online. But we're going to show you, they have to be a physical copy, so we're going to be able to show you what the case looks like, and then if there is a case, right? There are some systems, no cases, right? So we're going to just go back and forth that way. We're going to give you kind of a rating towards the end. I'm thinking of how affordable that system is, and I think the cool thing that we've kind of talked about is maybe a rating of A through D as far as how easy it is to get into collecting. And so we're taking things of how many games are out, how easy it is to get the console, and the overall price. Because as we know, the consoles themselves, they're not necessarily cheap, and retro gaming is getting kind of expensive because people are trying to use it like investment properties, kind of, right? So, but I'm super hyped about the system because I love this system. I really love this system. However, I know my man Wolfman really loves this system, and so Wolfman, why don't you let him know what's up?
Okay, sure. So, as Dan said, we're gonna talk about the Nintendo GameCube today, and
I
it
didn't
shattered
say
a
that.
lot of worlds.
I didn't.
You didn't? Oh, damn. Oops. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
Damn. Okay. Well, cat's out of the bag, so there you go. Nintendo GameCube, there it is. And Dan's going to talk about that in a sec. But basically, I am super psyched about this. I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite systems to collect for. It has blown up in the last year to 2 years, because those people that grew up playing with the Nintendo GameCube when they were, I guess, like a kid or early teens, are now working adults making their own money, and they want to relive their childhood, and they're trying to buy back these Nintendo GameCube games, and it's causing the games to kind of skyrocket due to intense demand. So it is a very collectible system, and we'll get more into that. It's so awesome. We'll tell you about all the awesomeness that this system has. But I'm going to turn it over to Dantron, and he'll introduce the system that I ruined for everyone.
That's all right. No, so I wanted the intro like that. So here we go. By the way, this is off the cuff. This is just us hanging out, and we're letting you into the inner sanctum of how we just hang out with each other. Welcome. So there's a couple of things that I want this stream to really get across, and the first and foremost one is we got to have some fun. That's just the way that it is. So I'm really looking for some fun puns in this, Wolfman, if we can work that out, or having some pun if people know me. You know what? Fun puns about buns. That would be great if we were able to work that into this stream. However, yeah, so you got to have fun. But let me pull back. I tend to derail things from time to time. Let's go back to the system here. So the GameCube was one of those ones. If you notice, Nintendo is very how should we say, special in their designs. This was one of the first kind of portable consoles. Those of you that remember it, it came with this weird handle. Like, I'm just gonna walk down the street like back in the day, boombox, but it was a GameCube, and I found it kind of weird, but it actually is very convenient. So you'd be able to just take this over to your friend's house. The games weren't really big, right? So, and the cool part about this one was, yeah, there was some other systems that have had peripherals and all that kind of stuff, but this had weird expansion ports on the bottom. Like this one, I want to say, was for the Game Boy adapter that would plug into the bottom. That was the high-speed port, they called it. And then there was some Ethernet, some Ethernet ports that could plug in, and I still would like to get one of those, Wolfman. And then there's another serial port. So there was lots of expansion that this system could do. The system was very very quiet as well. When you start thinking about some of the newer systems, like a PlayStation 4 or even a PlayStation 5, it sounds like a jet engine taking off. This one, with these fans on it, you would think that it was loud, and this was a really quiet system. Another great piece about it is
Oh my God. Well, let's put it this way. 3 inputs are fun at night. This is 4 inputs, so you can imagine.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, it's this was and of course we know the Nintendo 64 was out, and then PlayStation 2 had multi-tap and all that kind of stuff as well. But this was one that actually was a newer system with higher end graphics and 4-player gameplay. And there was games that you would not even anticipate that were 4-player, and you go, "Oh shoot, I totally forgot those games are 4-player. Wow, that's wild." But anyways, yes, very cool system. It came in multiple different colors. It was just this is one of those ones that I didn't get into at first. I kind of was not on the bandwagon. I'm a huge Nintendo fan, but I wasn't really hyped to GameCube because I was like, it's kind of weird. It seems like it has kiddie games and all that kind of stuff. So I was a little slower on the uptick when it came to this. But then there was one game that I saw. One game I saw. This was probably about 6 months into its lifespan. I saw this game, and yeah, Wolf, I'm just going to go into the first game if that's all right.
Well, real quick,
Go
before you
ahead.
go into that game, there's one thing people should know about too. You were talking about like the inputs and the different connections. It's super expensive. I don't have it. I don't know if you probably have it, Dan, but there is a port in the back that allowed you to use component video cables, which gave you 480p graphics, which was unheard of in 2001. It made the graphics. If you had a TV that supported it, they looked sharp and sweet as hell. I think if you want to get those cables now, they might be $300 for the original Nintendo GameCube component video cables.
That being said, those are the original set. You can always, if you're in for retro gaming and you're looking for a value, I know there are third parties that will make those cables as well. They're probably still going to be a little spendy because those third party cables most likely were stopped production a while ago as well. But there are other options out there. But for me, just like my man Wolfman, we're kind of a little bit on the purist side. I like to use original hardware, original controllers, if at all possible. If it makes sense. If it's freaking ridiculous to these cables that no one's ever going to see and they still work and show the screen the same, again, I don't
Good
care.
point.
Retro games are retro games. That's what's important to me.
Good point.
So again, I was slow to hop on the bandwagon, but I saw one game I just happened by and I was like, huh, that looks freaking amazing. So a thing about me is I like some of those games that are more puzzle solving. I like those aspects in games, puzzle solving, some adventure, and then of course the graphics got to be there too. But as soon as I saw this game, I was like, dude, I gotta have that game. I gotta have that game. It's only out for GameCube. I gotta get it. And that game, Luigi's Mansion, the original Luigi's Mansion. When I saw this one being played, at first I was kind of like, eh. But then, because I don't remember where was I at. I was at like at a GameStop or something, and they had it displayed, and someone was playing it, and I went, oh, hold up. I stopped and looked at it. I was like, that's different. That's something different that I can get into. So this was the first one. I love this game for the simple fact that the graphics were great. The exploring the different areas and unlocking the different areas was awesome. The atmosphere, the soundtrack in this game was amazing. And then it was just different with the use of having to use the vacuum and trying to problem solve and how to capture these different ghosts. It was really a cool game. And so this was the start of the GameCube collecting for me. And mind you, I want to say it was probably I started my collecting of GameCube. So again, I had it 6 months into the lifespan, but I really started getting into some of the collecting after I'd had the system for a number of years. But this was one of the originals that I had to have. So, Wolf, you got anything on this game? Do you remember playing this one the first time?
Yes, absolutely. And, a big part of why Dan and I want to do this to begin with is to shed knowledge. You should, all of you retro collectors or people that want to get into the retro collecting game, we're going to try to give you little pearls of wisdom. And during the course of this video and future videos, I or Dan will give you current market value of the games that we are showing. Some are affordable and entry level for the average Joe, and some you're going to have to sell a kidney or two to get some of these games, which I disagree with. I think that's crazy, in the world of emulation and megacades and stuff. If you want to play the game, there's ways to do it. You don't need the exact, physical game that came out. Those are for purists and collectors. But the game that Dan was holding up is a good 75 to 80 bucks, easy. And which I think is reasonable considering most new PS5 games with tax is 75 bucks. So,
Right? I wholeheartedly agree. This game though is you can again we're saying actual like kind of approximate market value. I know if we're talking just wanting to get disc only, you could probably get it down there around 25 bucks. So
definitely.
if you're not into wanting the actual case and all that kind of stuff, and then again you might find the case for with it in the case in pretty good condition for 45 bucks. Just keep an eye out on it if you're ever in like a flea market or a thrift store or something and you see some of these games. Half the time it's worth it just to pick it up, right? I mean, like Wolfman, I know you have a specific game that is like a holy grail for GameCube collectors, and you didn't even realize what you had. It was just one of those ones that you just came across. Do you have a second? Can you share that one
Yes,
with everyone?
absolutely. It's funny that Dan mentioned that. So I brought out two of them, and these are examples of just right time, right place, going out, an estate sale, flea market, house cleaning, whatever. And I saw these games, and mostly because the covers look cool. I'm big into cover art, and the two are right here. And I don't know if you could see it. It's one is called Cubivore, which
Oh
is
yeah.
right here, and it's a very interesting game. And this one is called Gotcha Force by Capcom. I want to say it was based off a anime show, I think.
It actually looks like Bleach. That looks like Ichigo. I mean, it does. It looks like a character from Bleach, but maybe not. I don't know. I haven't played that game because, again, it's rare, and I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, but Dan does know this. You could see the company at the bottom that published this game. It's Atlas, and Atlas is known for their low print run games. Anybody in the collecting industry knows if they see that Atlas sign to pick it up because it could be worth more money in the future because they just didn't pump out, a million, 2 million plus Luigi Mansions because that's a popular first party Nintendo product. Who the hell's ever heard of Cubivore? So
Everyone that sees this video now,
that well,
everyone's gonna
that's
be looking out
true.
for it. They're gonna be like, "Man, I gotta find." Hey, calling up places. Do you have Cubivore? The other people are gonna be like, "What is that? I don't know."
Yeah. So just to give the audience an idea, this one right here, Cubivore, is about $650 to $750, which is ridiculous. I'm the first to admit it. And this one right here in my hand, I don't even know if Dan knows this because I didn't show him this last time, but this is about $750 to $800. And
Holy
oh
smokes!
yes, and it's complete. It's got the
Oh my gosh!
manual and the disc. All my games I would think, are in pretty good shape. So
Oh yeah.
I think it's important what Dan mentioned that the price of GameCube games are going to fluctuate depending upon if you have just the disc, if you have the disc and the manual, if you have the disc and the case, and you could kind of, the numbers will go down the less things that you have. So all the prices that I'm going to give you during this video are for what's called CIB, or complete in box, or complete in case in this regards. And I just want the audience to know that these games can be had for cheaper if you're not a purist and you're not a collector, and they have to be in mint condition and have the case, the manual, and the game.
Sometimes it's not all about like how the packaging is. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Oh, Danton derail again. So Wolf, is that going to be your first game that you're showing, or
no,
you got something that you
hell
got to
no.
give it to us? I'm ready.
All
Show it to
right.
me. I'm ready.
Frick Zero, be a hero. Let's do it. F
Oh,
Zero GX. All right,
nice,
that's my first
great
pick.
choice.
It's it's a racing game. It's very cool. Those of you that have an N64 might have played um an iteration of that. Was it for a Super Nintendo too?
Yeah, so it came out Super
Yes.
Nintendo. Super Nintendo was awesome because remember it had you use the triggers to do the sharp turns on the top of
Right.
the controller. Yep.
Okay, so it's been out for a bit. It's a I think it's a game that people love because it's the graphics are great. There's great soundtracks for the courses. It's a futuristic racer, and Dan so eloquently corrected me last time. I said this was a two-player game. It's actually a 1 to 4 player game, which makes this super awesome because, as I have found out later in my life, I used to be a loner, a rebel.
A lone
And
wolf.
I have learned that games are way more fun when you're playing with friends. And I've got more into the multiplayer realm. But back in the day, man, I would sit down and try to beat these games myself. But this is a super fun game, fast, graphics look great, and I think Dan, you mentioned something like it
Nerd
took.
fact. Nerd
Yeah,
fact.
yeah. I'll let you do the nerd fact
So
because I don't want to
nerd
mess it
fact
up.
for all y'all is that that is actually a sister game. So there's actually a brother sister effect. That one is F-Zero GX. There's an F-Zero AX, which is the arcade. So there's a GameCube version and the arcade version. I'm pretty sure that's what the G is for and the A is for.
You're
The
right.
AX what came out in the arcade around the same time on the Triforce arcade system. There wasn't very many games out for that system. It was a system. I want to say they called it Triforce because I think it was like 3 developers that were working together. It was like Namco Bandai, I believe, Nintendo, and I don't remember what the third one was, but that's what they called it for. That's why it was the Triforce. And anybody that knows Nintendo understands how Triforce works. Zelda, which is an awesome series. Our friend Wolf or our friend Wales just loves that series. We should have had him on. We should talk about Legend of Zelda and have Wales go into how much he loves that. But
Yeah.
but anyways, just that's the nerd fact. It has a little bit, and also there are some courses and tracks in those that were actually started being developed for the N64 DD add-on. So there was a special DD add-on disc that had some extra things on there. So they were able to, and because that didn't sell very well, they were able to extract some of those things and bring it into these 2 newer versions, which is freaking awesome. So yeah, Wolf, great choice, man.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's a fun game. Definitely worth it. And for anybody that's interested in picking it up, this one's a little bit on the pricier side. If you want it complete in the case, it's about $100, 95 to $100. But like Dan said, you could probably just get the disc for, I don't know, maybe 25, $30.
Yeah, I'm already digging your choices, man. That's a great game. I love F
Well,
Zero. I love the
thanks.
heat. I love the speed and everything. So we'll go into my next game. So the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna kind of save the best for last. Don't get me wrong, and these are not necessarily favorite games or whatever. These are just games that meant something to us and we remember playing. And so my next game though is it actually is pretty popular now, mainly because they had a new version of it come out on Nintendo Switch, and that is Animal Crossing.
Mm,
Animal Crossing is one of those games that anyone can get into, right? So it's again kind of a problem-solving puzzle game. First thing I want to say though, side note, is anybody that has played this, Tom Nook can suck it because that Tom Nook is a crook. He'll straight up. You're like, all right, man, I finally just paid him off. I got this house. He's like, nah, you get this new house. I'm like, but I don't want the new house. Guess what? You owe me more money. I'm like, ah, all right.
yeah.
Well, let's go. But this game is one of those fun games that people that they played it on Switch, um, they would understand how much fun this type of game is. At first, you look at it and kind of like it's a kiddie game, not very, but it's interesting. This is one of those games that will suck you in. You'll be like, ooh, yep, I want to remember. I want to unlock this next thing, or I just found this fill in the blank, and it's just a fun game. I know that
Definitely.
my wife loves this game because it's in her wheelhouse. She doesn't like too many crazy things going on, but this is one of those fun sit down and just enjoy yourself games, and not a whole lot of stress, none of that.
No,
So
no
it's
way.
just a fun game.
And a kind of fun fact on what Dan's saying, during COVID, The Animal Crossing for Switch was probably one of the more popular games that had come out during that COVID 2-year span because, like Dan said, it was a time suck. People weren't able to leave their houses and they just got enveloped in Animal Crossing. And I just want to second what he said about Tom Nook. He's the Bernie Madoff of the Nintendo series.
You know what?
He's
Even if you
insane.
paid him off, I guarantee you he's still going to be knocking on your door talking about, hey, I'm here to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. And like, no, Tom, stop it.
Exactly.
So this game is sweet, though. What I didn't realize, but I do realize now, is that it is 4-player alternating. So there is also e-reader compatible. That's the where the hookup for a Game Boy Advance is also in here. And then just a side note, I bought this one after the fact, so I had it and then I got rid of it and then decided to buy it again. And when I had bought it back in, I want to say it was probably 2010, 2011, I have the receipt still in here from when I bought it. It was $14.99.
Show it.
$14.99.
Nice.
Dude, there's the packing slip.
that.
$14.99.
That's insane.
That is just crazy. And so
It's a $100 game now, $90 to $100 complete.
Yep, but there is one thing, because I did get it aftermarket, is that you have a different version of this. I'm pretty sure when we talked about it, where you actually have, because it came with a memory card. It came with its, hang on, geez, that light. It came with its own memory card, right?
Yes.
My version didn't, because I got it aftermarket. Wolf has complete. So again, there's different varying degrees, right? So this game right now, what'd you say, Wolf? It's like 70 to 100. Is that right?
It's 90 to 100 complete.
Yeah. So $100 for the complete, and that's probably with the memory card. So if you were to drop it down, I'm guessing probably closer to 70 to 80 bucks without the memory card. But in still great condition. This is definitely one that I would check out. For those of you that are kind of like, I don't know, try it. Try
so
it.
Much fun.
I can almost guarantee you that you'll go, oh, you know what? This is pretty fun. I can sit down and Netflix and chill, and rather, it'll be Animal Crossing and chill. So yeah, lots of fun. What you got, Wolf? I'm ready.
All right. So this is going to come off weird because I like the game. I don't love it. I'm not big into first party shooters. But the game that I'm going to show, or the series of games I'm going to show, is the anti-hemorrhoid sublime Metroid Prime, baby.
Get rid of them roids, baby.
That's right.
Actually, the shoulder pads, that looks like roids. But go ahead.
Yeah, it does. Oh, my God. Speed bump galore.
That's right.
So Metroid Prime is... It really is an awesome game. I need to give it a second chance, but it really changed the Metroid game series, because prior to that there was a Metroid game for Nintendo, which was a 2D I guess like shooter kind of adventure game. I guess Metroid actually started its own genre called Metroidvania games, because the world was kind of connected and you couldn't get past a certain point until you got a special item, and then you could go back, and it really opened up other games like Castlevania games and stuff. So that game was great. The game that I loved the most was the Super Metroid for Super Nintendo. I thought was absolutely fantastic. And then Nintendo kind of changed things up on us. I want to say it skipped the N64 generation, and then it came back with Metroid Prime. And like I said, it totally changed up the game series, because it went to a first person, which is nothing wrong with that. It took some getting used to for me, with the controller and everything, but it is a super awesome game. The graphics are awesome. The sound, the bosses were amazing. You had to think about how you were going to beat each of the bosses. And this game, even more so than the first, the bosses took way more thought and consideration on how you were going to pass certain areas. And it is I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. I want to say, for the person that wants to get into the GameCube and you want to get those games, you could get probably both of those games that I showed up, Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2, for about $65 or $70 complete.
So that's another thing that Wolf touched on at the beginning, is that those are first party. So there's a lot more of those that were produced. So again, a lot of these things are supply and demand, right? There's not a whole lot of some of these games out there that's going to boost the price. And so, but if you got to have that game, then it's like, all right, it's got to weigh in balance. Is it me having this game, is it worth the value of this money and what they're asking? Sometimes if it is, you're going to pay. That's just the way that it is. And sometimes you're going to pay a lot because it never comes available, right? If one pops up, you're like, oop, got to have it. So but Metroid in particular, Metroid Prime, it was one of those like first person on a Nintendo, but it was different than like N64 GoldenEye. Everybody kind of remembers how that was, but it was very similar to how GoldenEye played. So right now when you try and play it, it's a little clunky when it comes to if you're used to modern day first person shooters, but it is a great series. Good choice, Wolf.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think we're 3 for 3, so let's continue that trend.
Oh man. So this next one, I okay. So I might catch some flack for this, and I am sorry, but not sorry. So this next game I'm going to share, there's been multiple iterations of this game on multiple different versions of Nintendo systems, all the way back to the Super Nintendo. So this next one was one of those games that totally changed, and it flipped how the game is played. And it was one of those games that I didn't expect, but then it had this added feature that really put it over the top. It's actually my favorite version of any of these in the series. It doesn't matter if it's the newer Switch version or all the way back to Super Nintendo, but here it is. Mario Kart Double Dash. Mario Kart Double Dash was this game specifically. It was one of those ones, I don't know if I'm going to like it. Here's what puts it over the top. The level design, the fact that it was, I'm pretty sure it was the first time they had Moo Moo Meadows, which is my favorite track and my favorite song in the whole series. But go check it out. Any of the other ones that have Moo Moo Meadows. But this game has a unique feature where you can dual cart it. So meaning there is a player in driving and someone in the back. The cool part about it is it takes some coordination. So you can play single player. It's 4-player. It's all against each other. Or you can play 2 versus 2 co-op, where you have one player in front, one player in back, and you can actually swap positions back and forth. But the person who's in back, it's wild because there's a little bit that added level of being able to do boosts. Like normally you'd be able to do a boost by just sliding and hitting a button, but you got to be in coordination with your partner if you're playing, both on the same cart, because your partner has to initiate the drift at the same time that you're initiating the drift. So there's like a tag team tandem thing. Whereas if you're in sync, you can basically you're boosting around almost every single corner. But that for me was the biggest game changer. Also, the person in back is the only one that can throw stuff. So let's just say you run over a double box, which is really cool. You run over a double box, each of you get an item. But let's say the back person uses their item, but you have a red shell. You both click the Z button, which is the top on the right on the controller, and you would swap spots, and now you're in the back, so you have to work on being able to initiate the drifts, but you can also throw your item. So there's this constant, almost like a ballet dance that's happening as far as drifting around, understanding when you need to swap, and it's just, there's been nothing like it. Like there's none of the other Mario Karts have done it. This is the only one that did it, and that just is what endears it to me. My kids freaking love it. They've played all the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch. They played all of them. But this one in particular is the one when I pull it out, they go, yes, let's play Mario Kart. So, and I mean, so Wolf, you got any good memories on your Mario Kart adventure?
Oh, definitely. And I just want to show mine because Dan and I were talking about this before the show started. This is my version. You see something slightly different. It says that, I don't know. I'm gonna have to research it, but my version came with 2 discs. It came with and they're printed. The top one says bonus disc Mario Kart, and I don't even know what's on there. It says with playable demos.
Nice.
So I don't know if that affects the value or not, but that game is about $90 or $100. And just to kind of piggyback off of what Dan said, I look at games, okay, most people when they look at games, they look at graphics, they look at sound, they look at challenge. All right, going all the way back to like the days of the NES and SNES, I look at fun factor. And no game has the fun factor that Mario Kart series and the one you picked, Double Dash, because that is just a god darn ball. With the co-op and everything that you said, the graphics were sharp, the levels were more intense. They had like secret paths that you could go off of. It was just so cool, and I'm almost positive that this took advantage of that first thing that you said in the beginning. It had the broadband
Yep, sure did.
capability.
Yep.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
was really cool. I never had that, the broadband, so I wouldn't know, but I certainly played with some friends. And even today, at 40 something years old, I would still have a ball playing this game because of that fun factor.
Oh, for sure. So if you like Mario Kart or you like racing games in general, this is one of those really, really fun ones, and I would definitely try it out. But you know what's funny? Actually, I have my GameStop receipt from when I bought this game.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this GameStop receipt was back. I bought it in 2005,
Okay.
so that was back there a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 29.99.
Wow.
A little different.
Went up 3 times in value.
Yeah, a little bit different, but yeah, check this one out for sure. Double Dash, you won't be sorry for sure.
I don't know how I could top that gem, Dan. That's impossible.
You're gonna
So
do it though.
I don't think so. It'll be close. Typically for people, ED is a bad thing. And
Oof.
if you have ED, you would need to see a doctor. But this ED is a good thing. The ED stands for Eternal Darkness.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
yep. And it is it's Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, and it is just a very unique game. And one of the unique things is right here on the bottom. Dan had mentioned that the Nintendo GameCube is definitely marketed for a younger audience. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, adults, any ages can enjoy it. But it was unheard of for a Nintendo game to come out at that time and have a mature rating. And it is definitely worth its mature rating. It plays a lot like Resident Evil. It's I don't even know how to say it. It's a psychological horror, third person Resident Evil-esque game, and it's got some really unique features. You could cast spells. The game would mess with you. There would be like knocking at the door behind you, and you'd look around, and it would mess around with your controller, and it would like disengage, you being able to run as like a monster came in. It was really unbelievable, cutting edge psychological stuff and super fun. I know, Dan, you said you like games with puzzle elements. This had lots of puzzle elements to it. I remember beating it back in the day, and then I tried playing it again, and I was horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. So super, super fun game. Eternal Darkness right now it's $100 complete. You might be able to get it for cheaper if you get like disc and case only or something, but it's one of those, I want to say it's a hidden gem, but it's definitely something that if the price is scaring you, you need to play it on emulation or on your Megacade. Eternal Darkness. You'll thank me later. It is just one of those really unique, cool games.
I've heard and read that it's kind of got some aspects of like Dead Space, that kind
Yep.
of feel. So yeah, I really like, or Silent Hill, that kind of
Definitely.
stuff. So if you like those types of games, especially for this system, as he pointed out, that's definitely adult. And see, Wolf, there you go, pulling it out. That's one that I have lots of games, and I'm pretty sure I own that one, but I know for a fact I've never played it. But you bringing it up,
Okay.
I'm playing it.
Good.
I'm gonna play it. It's gonna be I'm hyped about it.
You should stream it on your channel. That'd be awesome. People
Yeah,
would love to see that.
I could. You know what? Look at you, just ideas. all day. You know, the fact that I haven't finished any of my other playthroughs on any of my other stuff. That's
I'm still waiting for a couple of them to
I know.
finish.
I still, yeah, I know exactly. But my next game is going to go into kind of dovetail off of what Wolf was talking about as far as adult themed GameCube games. That there was a few that was like, oh, okay, you know what, this is actually okay for adults. And my next game is probably one of the better in this type of a series. Is going to be Rogue Leader.
Ooh,
Star Wars Rogue Leader. Now
yes.
this is one for sure that when I saw it the first time, I was like, "Oh, dude, this is not kid. The
Mhm.
graphics were insane. The gameplay was tight, and you know how I like it tight, tight, concise, really easy to get into though. But yet there was a lot of depth and how you could, how each ship moved, and there was unlocks and all kinds of cool stuff, and the environments, the overall graphical quality of everything. It was just amazing, of just really an amazing feat for them to fit
Mhm.
this much stuff in this game into this little tiny stinking disc. I mean, I
Yeah.
just found that amazing. Like there was no way. I was thinking to myself, there's no way. There's no way that this game could be that good on this little tiny disc, and it's phenomenal. Like if you get an opportunity to, if you like any of those kind of flight games or anything, arcadey flight games, this
Mhm.
is the one for you for sure. And I was just like, oh, yep, this is not. Kids can play this. Don't get me wrong, but this one was definitely one that was like, okay, like Eternal Darkness, adults. This one was like not just for kids. Like adults could easily get into this one too, and it
Mhm.
wasn't like Animal Crossing that it was like you just have to try and then
Yeah.
go, oh, okay, I see. It's still, you know what I'm saying? This was one you could look at and go, hold up. I mean, even today, if you're around somewhere and someone puts on this game, even if you don't know anything about it, that's one of those games that you're gonna do a double take and go, what is that? You're gonna go
Yeah.
look at it because it holds up. It's just it's an awesome
When did
game.
that come out, Dan? What do you have the date on that? Was that at one of the first
It
like series of games that came out for the GameCube?
I'm pretty darn sure that it wasn't a launch title, but I think it
Okay.
was within the first like 1 or 2 months of launch.
Okay.
So I want to say was it like 2001 probably? Yeah, probably 2001 if I had to
Okay.
guess.
Well then guess what? I think the GameCube came out September 2001, and I you could be right because I swear I remember going into a store and they had that playing, and I thought they were playing a Star Wars movie, and went, "Oh, I wonder what Star Wars movie that is." And they're like, "No, no, no, this is the new system, Nintendo GameCube." I was like, "What?"
Yep.
I mean, the graphics are that good, and they hold up today in 2023. Same
Yeah.
with the sound.
Oh yeah, just amazing. Amazing game. That is a single player game though, just so you're aware.
Right.
But it's definitely worth a check out. If you haven't tried it, just add it to your little list of games that you want to at least look into.
Yeah, and it's relatively very inexpensive for people to get in and buy at $25 complete. So
Heck
one
yeah.
of the cheaper games.
That's how you know for sure they made a lot of those. Like everyone, once that game came out,
Yeah,
I'm dead serious. Everyone, once that game out, or once that game
yeah,
came out that had a GameCube, I would say 9 out of 10 owners of a GameCube bought that game
yeah.
straight up
You're right.
because that one game right there is a system seller, like
It
straight up.
was.
It was like even people like sometimes people don't like the
Mhm.
first party mascot style games. They just don't. They're not into that type of platformer or whatever. But that one was a straight up seller of your system. So and it wasn't even first party. It was a third party, which is
Yep,
amazing.
you're right. Unbelievable. What a great game, man. I feel like playing it now. Now that
Now that
you
we've been
talked
talking
about
about it, getting all hyped.
Yeah, I am. But that's a tough one to top. So my next game is based on a series that's been around for a long time, going all the way back to the original Nintendo. And it's Dan alluded to this earlier. It's our friend. First off, I'm dedicating it to my friend Wales. And this title is going to make him moister than Duncan Hines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. And this is The Legend
Oh.
of Zelda Wind Waker,
Oh my
which
gosh.
is, I got to be honest with you. At first, I was not digging it. I was not. It had a very different art style that I did not like at first, and I believe Dan, you called it a cell shading graphics, and it was very cartoony. And Link looked younger, you look like a kid, and I was just like, oh man, this is not like kind of what I remembered. And I started playing it, and a lot of the game takes place or uses this travel mechanics where you're on a boat.
Like
And
Lonely Island. Oh wait, sorry.
yeah,
Sorry,
yes.
I got sidetracked. Go ahead, keep going. I'm listening.
And the graphics and the sound were extremely good. Great puzzle elements, um, cool bosses, and it's a game that took some time for me to get into. But once I did, I really liked it. And those of you that enjoy Legend of Zelda games, I believe there are a lot for the GameCube. So you had like Ocarina of Time, you had a
Which was a re-release from the N64.
re-release,
Yep.
right? And then you had another one that had a couple Zelda games on there.
Yeah,
Do you
those
know
like
which one I'm talking
Majora's
about?
Mask and
Yeah.
Ocarina. I think they had
Yep.
a 2-pack, like collector's
Yep.
one of those.
And they also, towards the tail end of the GameCube's life cycle, they came out with a Twilight Princess. And that is when I believe the Wii was coming out. So they
Yep.
double released it, tail end for the GameCube and then for the Wii. But I was smart because I picked up the Wii version, opened that and played it, but I kept my GameCube Twilight Princess sealed.
Heck
So I
yeah.
have a sealed copy today, which is really cool. But this game is super awesome. I recommend it for anybody, kids or adults alike. And complete, it's about $70, which isn't too bad. Lots of fun. Dan, any
Yeah.
memories? Do you remember playing this?
So I do remember playing that, and I was the same way. So I kind of was looking at it. I was like, yeah, I don't know. But side note that goes along with it is my wife surprised me one time with if any of you have been to one of those concerts, that's like a video game music concert. It was a concert that was for Zelda music, and when I was walking in, that was right around the time when that game was out, and I walked in there and I was just because they had a few of these like. Displays up and people were playing it. I want to say there was 3 or 4 of them up. And as I'm walking by, I look and I'm like, as my buddy Andy Bibb would say, I looked at him with, well, hello there. And I had to go over there and I started looking at it and I was like, hold up. It looks crazy, but actually seeing the game being played and it's like a third person adventure platformer. I love Banjo-Kazooie, which was another on N64, and it had a lot of that feel to it. A lot of feel of Ocarina when it was young Link too. And so I was like, all right, I gotta have it. I gotta have that game. And so yes, awesome choice, Wolf. And I totally forgot about that. Was the first time I had saw that game. Actually, someone playing it was at that point, because that was the internet still wasn't anything crazy at that point. It's like not today. You just bust up YouTube and just go Wind Waker, and then you got like 6,000 videos. It wasn't like that. It was like you'd see magazines you'd open up and you'd be like, all right, well, this looks cool, but actually seeing the game played is what really sold it for me.
Yep. Awesome. What do you got? Is this, are we getting to your last one? Or?
This is, okay, so this is the last one. And another one, I might catch some hate for this one. And again, I don't care. This one in particular, this game, lots of iterations of this game as well. It is a first-party title. But this is the one game that I will still go back to. It is amazing. It hits all levels for me. It has the problem solving, it has the platformer aspect, it has the collecting, it has the unknown hidden things in it, the sound, all of that, and it plays just a little different than all of the other versions. Not to put those versions down, I'm not saying that, but this one for me elevated what the game itself did. And it is Super Mario Sunshine.
Yes.
Super Mario Sunshine. So this game, when I first saw it, again, it was one of those like, I don't know. Let me see, because it's just different, right? You got like this water backpack on that you can hover so you got to fill up the backpack, and then you can use the water in multiple ways. You can use it to spray and clean up walls, which unlock things. You could use it to damage enemies, and you can use it to like hover, like fly, and you can hover to get to different areas that you normally wouldn't be able to get to. And so that whole mechanic of trying to find bodies of water to recharge your backpack to be able to do these other things, and it's just that you're, rather than collecting stars, you're collecting suns, these little sun sprite things. And this one is just a big step up from the Super Mario 64, which I loved that game, just like I love Banjo-Kazooie. This game, for all intents and purposes, it's better than both of those, in my opinion. If I had to choose, like, hey, I only got one game to play when it's platformer style, this is the one that I'm playing. It's lots of fun. As a matter of fact, before the internet, right, I actually bought a book. That wasn't my style, but I bought a book for this. I still have it. The Nintendo Power, like, authorized unlock, book, because there was a few sprites that I just couldn't get. I had no idea where they were, so I needed somebody to point me in the right direction. There wasn't GameFAQs back in those days.
Right.
It's crazy. But yeah, this game in particular is a lot of fun. Your kids will like it. You'll like it if you get into it. It is a little different to get into, though. Like, learning the mechanics of how the backpack works can sometimes be can deter some people from playing it. But it is a lot of fun. How about you, Wolf? You got anything on this one?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I love how Dan prefaced that it's a game that he likes and he gravitated towards for the reasons that he said. It's I want to say, like, commercially, I don't know if it's sold the best of any of the Mario games out there. There's been a lot of great Mario games, and the more I heard Dan talk about it, it did bring back some memories. And that backpack he was talking about, I think the acronym was FLUDD.
Yep.
Wasn't it? FLUDD?
It is, yep.
And super
It's gonna
cool.
flood you with memories.
Yeah, no doubt, right? And it is a lot of fun, but it's very different. But it was so cool. It was so colorful and happy, and I don't know. It brought up great memories, and believe it or not, it was hard. I remember, like, I was very good at the Mario games, and I remember being frustrated with that game. It definitely had a challenge factor to it, and I could see why you got that book. Because I want to say, like, it's not like me, but I kind of gave up on it, and I need to go back to it with a fresh set of eyes, and I need to play it again, because you're not the only one that said that Mario Sunshine is their favorite Mario game. It's like kind of the redheaded stepchild. It's
right. You either like redheads or you don't, kind of.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but again, it might not be for you. Like, if you compare that one to, like, Mario Galaxy, they just play different, right? Mario Galaxy is a natural thing, like flying and stuff like that. That's just known Mario all the way back to, like, the the Super Nintendo, Super Mario World, right, with the cape. So it's a natural progression. Having to float using water and having to aim like a first person to shoot stuff, it is a weird concept at first. But once you get the hang of it, again, if you give it some time, I think you'll enjoy it. But then again, I'm not saying, that's for me, like what Wolf pointed out. For me, and there was a ton of them out there, so I know it's going to be lower on the cost range. So Wolf,
$40.
40? Yeah.
Yep.
See, not
Complete.
bad. Easy to get into. One of those ones that I'll say it this way. If I was to advise 10 people to try this game out, I guarantee you 7 of them would go, you know what, I like that game. I didn't think I was going to like it. I like it, but there's always going to be that small percentage that's just like, nah, it's just not my style. That's just not my style. But if you get a chance to try it out, I definitely would suggest it.
Oh boy, it's down to my last game.
It is,
right?
and I'm ready. I'm like, hang on, I got to calm them down.
Oh boy, you're not going to believe this, and I got to go run and get it. I forgot it. I brought out an honorable mention, but I forgot that game. So, can you talk about GameCube for 30 seconds?
I sure can.
Shiitake mushrooms. Let me go get it.
I sure can. So, GameCube, one of those things we haven't touched on, and I haven't showed you yet, is the GameCube controllers. The peripherals that the GameCube came out with. The controllers are weird. Anyone that knows Nintendo systems, they always innovate when it comes to controllers in particular. GameCube controller at first I was like, I'm not quite sure I'm liking this. But the more I used it, the more I really enjoyed it. And it was cool because most Nintendo games, and GameCube is no different, is they have their games geared towards their oddball controllers, right? So the reason why we're not really showing controllers or any of that kind of stuff, Wolf and I are going to do an episode of nothing but peripherals later, but that is one of those things when you first started getting into the GameCube. Like me at first, that was one of the. I was like, it's a kid's game. Look at they got this one weird big green button. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That looks no. And then, but once you get to playing with it, it's like, okay, you cannot play with any other controller. Like it does not feel natural to play some of these games using an Xbox controller or something weird and oddball. But Wolf is back, and I am still excited. Like I'm making a mess here, waiting for you, Wolf. I mean, I couldn't contain myself.
Okay.
So I'm ready. I'm
All
ready.
right,
I
so
almost
here you
started
go.
growing hair. I was so excited.
So there's a game on the internet, and it's called Smash or Pass.
Oh.
And it's you know, do you want to do the naked tango with that somebody, and they might put up like an Instagram model, and then they might put up a picture of like I don't know, like Chuck, okay, from the EHA community, and
Yeah.
you have the ability to smash or pass.
Right.
Ta-da!
Oh no!
I
Yes.
say smash.
Ah,
Super
yes.
Smash Bros. Melee. Okay, it is a quintessential fighter. I mean, it is just raw fun. It uses all sorts of characters, and I know that they've gone outside of the Nintendo universe in the recent iterations, but back in the day, you had all of the licensed Nintendo characters from their various franchises. You have Captain Falcon and was Kirby? I guess Kirby was a Nintendo product,
Yep.
right? Even though it was made by HAL, I
Yep.
think Nintendo still had it. Donkey Kong, Star Fox, a super cool game. Obviously, 1 to 4 players, and it changed things up. I mean, if you played the first version of it on N64, which I liked, I think that this version is even better. Graphics are better, more characters. It's more technical, but like we talked about before, what I like about it is anybody could pick up a controller, you could smash some buttons and not know what to do and still have a ball. And those very good fighters that love fighting games, there's a lot of technical moves and elements and idiosyncrasies to the game that make it really cool for the expert fighters. So I feel like this game kind of brings in all types, from the experts to the novices. And this game, if you wanted to get it, you're looking at about 75 or 80 bucks complete. And that means, obviously, once again, manual, disc. You might be able to just pick up the disc and be able to play it. Super fun. But Dan's going to kill me because I'm going off the script a little bit here. I added an honorable mention, and I just want to talk about it real quick.
After I say one thing about Smash.
Oh yeah, of course.
So Smash, in particular, there's a reason why certain games are classic, and they go throughout time. Like you just, it doesn't matter if their graphics are better and newer games or whatnot, but there's still a classic feel to certain games, and it has to be a unique game. Smash Bros was one of those games where everything just came together. Everything. You could, like he was saying, you could be a novice and still have a great time. You could be somebody who's super advanced and have a good time with it. It was just across the board. Everything about it was just fun, and that's what Nintendo wanted. Fun, right? And it had that fun factor. It had everything that was that. I'm going to give that to Wolf. It had that fun factor to it. And so a lot of times newer games we've run into where you find that it kind of loses its soul, where it's just they play it safe. That was back in the days where they weren't playing it safe and they were going all out. Like if you talk to somebody back in those days and were like, Nintendo characters getting together and fighting, that just sounds ridiculous. Now look at what you got. It's freaking amazing. Yeah. So thanks for bringing that one up, Wolf. I love that game. That's a great choice.
Oh, definitely. And real quick, just an honorable mention. It's a fun game. It's called Beautiful Joe, and here is Beautiful Joe and Beautiful Joe 2. You could see the company that published it, Capcom, which is, I think, one of the better companies, especially at that time. They've been putting out great games since Nintendo. And Beautiful Joe,
love it when they put out. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, no doubt. And this is the type of game, and we haven't talked about this genre yet, but it's beat 'em up. I mean, it's a 2D, straight out of a comic book, fun beat 'em up with like super cool over the top powers and weapons that you could have, and it is just so cool. I'm trying to say, is it multiplayer? No, it is one player only. Unfortunately, it would have been cool if they offered like a couch co-op so two people could try to beat the game at once, but I'd say that this is more in the lines of like a hidden gem for GameCube. So if you're interested in like a beat 'em up with like super different, I don't know if you could see this. I'll put it up. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. Like you could see, like those are
Mhm.
actually the graphics in the slide. It's like straight out of a comic book. So cool. Dan mentioned cell shaded graphics. That's definitely what this is. Cell shaded comic book graphics. Lots of fun. Beautiful Joe 2. And do I have it written down? No, I don't. So I'm not exactly sure what they're going for these days, but
They're going for a finger. You got to sell a finger. No, I don't. I didn't look it up either. Wolf. But
I don't know. But
I
you can play them. That's my point. Like, Megacade, emulation, play it, find it. You don't have to have the physical copy.
and I remember that game being, and I like to call it terrificult, meaning it was a terrific game, beautiful visually. The design of the game was, again, it's one of those games where Nintendo and Capcom, third party, right, did something different, right? That was something different. That was them going out on a limb and trying something different, and it worked. Now, was it a huge success? I don't think it was as popular when it first came out, but it's one of those games, like one of those movies. After the fact, it gets more and more traction.
Cult classic.
As it starts to gain traction, as it ages and more people are exposed to it. Normally, I don't like people exposing themselves, but exposing them to games, exposing them to games like Beautiful Joe, it was a terrific game, but it was also very difficult. Like it ramped up its difficulty pretty quick. But you could still get into it and you could still do it, but it wasn't like the watered down platformers that you see today. And so, because again, it's like a participation trophy for a lot of, it's like, oh, you can play it on hard mode, but that's actually what it should be on normal mode. And they give you a normal.
You're right.
And
it was a tough game.
That's just something that's different in games. And I'm not knocking you if you play things on normal or easy. I don't care. Like having fun with the games, but that game in particular, Beautiful Joe and Beautiful Joe 2, they were difficult games when you got towards the end. But lots of fun, and they're challenging, but that's why you feel so good about playing them. And if you get a chance to beat them, you feel like you accomplished something. And it's I won't say a badge of armor. We're not giving, or a badge of honor. I'm not saying we're giving out like participation trophies and badges for that kind of stuff. But it's really cool to say, yes, I completed it and I saw what it was at the end. But
yep.
But I think that's it, right, Wolf? Is that it for us for this one?
Almost. I want to just say something real quick because one of the ideas of the show is to let people know, and Dan's going to give his grade for the system as far as collectability and all that stuff. I got to be honest with you that the GameCube right now is a tough game, a tough system to collect for because it's extremely high in demand, and I believe a lot of the prices are outrageous, and we called it cost prohibitive. It is, I think it's insane. And I know if I was collecting today, I'd be priced out of the market. I mean, I got these games a long time ago when they were dirt cheap. They happened to come up a lot in price. I'm lucky. But I think for the average person to go out and try to amass a GameCube collection, I mean, you need deep, deep pockets for that. Or you got to get real lucky or something. It's a very expensive system to buy and collect for today. It's a fun system. Lots of great games, first party and third party. One of my favorite systems to collect for, but it's just, I don't know. I think we've just hit a point, like I said in the beginning, where those people are trying to regain their childhood again, and it's just driving up these prices, and it's absurd.
Yep. So and another thing that the GameCube has going for it is it's again that age for them, the people now that are starting to, but also the fact that a lot of the graphics hold up. A lot of the graphics are not, I mean, you don't see anybody that's going to go back and really see an Atari game and want to play it. It'll just be nostalgia for them. But if you want to get into retro game collecting, and it's something you're going to play, you want something that's going to have better graphics, and GameCube fits that bill. It really
Definitely.
does. So, and I was looking at it, and the way that, remember I told you grades A, B, C, D are what I'm going for. And so, and that's for availability of the game and systems, ease, basically ease of collecting, and then price. I'm going to take all of those things in consideration. And actually, since I've been thinking about it a little bit more, I'm going to give it, my grade would be more like a C plus. I would say C plus because the games themselves are very, very good. You can get them still just disc wise, of course, for still relatively inexpensive. Now, if you're trying to get new in box, that's where it's going to start, blowing up. There's certain games, lower run we had talked about, the more expensive that it's going to get. For instance, too, if you like controllers, the controllers themselves, the wired controllers, still pretty expensive. But if you want to get wireless controllers, for example, like Wavebirds and things like that, to get an actual working Wavebird with the actual plug-in, the receiver, you're going to be spending $250 easy on one controller. Yep. So those are the things, again. So it's weighing and balancing, like how much is it going to be for getting into, what are you getting for your value for the games, how easy is it to find the games, all of those things. So again, my grade would be C plus. Do you agree with that, Wolf?
I think that's more than fair. I mean, I'm going to go like a tad higher than you. I'm going to say a B minus, but I mean, we're real close. I think that's a fair assessment. Definitely.
Well, right on. I really enjoy doing these with you, Wolf. I mean, just hanging out with you is just lots and lots of fun. Talking about old school games, maybe exposing some people to something they hadn't thought about, something they just go, you know what, let me look into that a little bit more, and maybe find a gem for themselves. So, and that's what this is. We just want to hang out. We want to, give you a little bit of insight into what the retro gaming collecting is going to be. But I'm going to say one last thing about this is, please remember to be kind. There's a challenge with the retro game collecting in general right now, where people are not very kind to each other. Be kind in all things. Just, I mean, this is me getting on my soapbox, but just be kind. It doesn't matter about retro gaming, but I'm seeing that a lot online with retro game collectors, is people will attack others about how they decide to play and enjoy their retro games. Just enjoy your games. If you don't like how somebody else does something, then keep it to yourself. This is just a suggestion, but it makes the world a lot nicer, especially for retro game collectors.
Yep, and I just want to say one more thing, and I want to. First off, we hope you enjoy the show and the series. I think there's going to be a lot of bangers yet to come. I mean, there's so much to talk about, but we just want to make sure that the shows are first and foremost informative, and second, that they're fun. We get you to laugh too, but we want you to walk away with some important knowledge in your back pocket, because we don't want you wasting your hard-earned money. But I do want to just stress, if you enjoy the show, do me a favor. It takes 2 seconds. All right. You see his name on the screen. It's Dantron69K. He's not only a friend, but he's huge in the EHA-OU community. He's a beta tester for the Omega software. He helps people, and he puts out really quality videos, fun. If you think he's funny now, wait till you see him just playing some of these games like Final Fantasy for PS4, PS5, or what's that game on Microsoft, High on Life?
Oh, High on Life. Yep, I got to get back into that one. Wow.
He's a riot, and he's a lot of fun, and he's a good dude. So it takes 2 seconds to go to his YouTube channel, hit subscribe, click that bell. He puts up videos, I want to say consistently. Some YouTubers, maybe like a video a month, or maybe 2 videos a month. I mean, he's pretty consistent with that, and he gives really diverse videos and how-tos and modding and just really informative stuff. So please, if you're enjoying, what we're doing, subscribe to his YouTube account or page, and
Thank you,
I
sir.
would appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. I hope you guys did have fun. Until next time, I can't wait until we get to our next system. The next system is going to be fire as well. And
yes, no doubt.
And until next time, my friends, peace.
Peace.